Welcome to the London Horror Movie Club. I'm horror writer Lauren Jane Barnett.
And I'm Chris Sapikowski, Lauren's older brother, and I've been watching horror movies since I was 8.
Join us as we talk about the wild, weird, and wonderful horror films set in England's eerie capital.
Welcome back, London Horror Movie Club. It's almost Halloween, and we have a spooktacular guest for you this week, the award-winning actress Debra Lamb. You no doubt seen her on the big screen as she's appeared in more than 100 films, and while most people might think of RoboCop and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm willing to bet horror aficionados remember her in films like Evil Spirits or The Lake of Shadows, as well as her award-winning roles in Blood-Covered Chocolate, There's No Such Thing as Zombies, and the smash indie hit Finding Nicole. Welcome, Debra.
Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Thank you so much for being on here. We're really excited, and I know there's so much of your career to talk about, but I hope you don't mind. I'm going to start by saying congratulations for Best Supporting Actress at the Sunny Side Up Film Festival. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That was for Finding Nicole. Finding Nicole is coming out before the end of the year. We're anxiously awaiting to see when exactly it's coming out. That film I'm very proud to be a part of. Finding Nicole is actually based on a true story. Nicole Beverly is the woman who the film is based on. She also wrote a book. She also was on one of those, it was one of the top crime shows, and I can't remember which one it was. But her story was told on this top crime show, and so yeah, this film is based on her experiences with her ex-husband who was going to kill her, and it's really a tragic and scary story. But the film is great. It stars Katie Wallen as Nicole, and I play her mother. I play Susan, her mother, and the film is directed by Harley Wallen. It's been in a slew of film festivals. It did very, very well during its festival run, and I actually won 2 Best Supporting Actress awards. One was at the Sunny Side Up Film Festival, which was in May earlier this year, and the other one was the Cowpokes Film Festival. I believe that one was in June. I think so. And the film itself won so many awards. Katie won several awards for Best Actress. A couple of the other actors in it won awards. The film has received a lot of Best Feature awards. Harley won a few Best Director awards. We won a Best Ensemble Cast award. So it's doing phenomenally well. So when it does finally come out, there's going to be a big splash. And I know we're supposed to have a big premiere in LA. And I think they're also probably going to have a premiere in Michigan, where they're based out of.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah.
You've done so much, and it's I just was looking just on your IMDb page, and did you have any idea that your career was going to be like what it is? I mean, did you have that goal of like, I'm just going to be in movies and this is what I'm going to do? I mean, it's like super successful and ranging from a long time too, not just like had a really good 2-year period here. Like you've been great for since the 80s to now. Like you're still just working and putting out good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been in this business for 4 decades now.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Did you know when you showed up in LA from Portland, Oregon, that you were going to be?
Well, when I was in Portland, Oregon, I started taking ballet when I was 7. So while I was in the Portland area, so I was taking ballet there for 7 years, and we put on big productions, big professional productions. I was a little kid, but we were putting on big productions twice a year, once in the spring and once around the holidays. So I was used to being on stage. It was all the different classes at that particular dance school, and it was all the different classes and all the different ages. would perform a number, each. And I think I started when I was 7 till I was 14. So, I was getting older as growing up in that company. And so I was used to being on the stage. I loved theater. And then I was also taking some theater type classes since elementary school. And then when my mother moved us to Los Angeles when I was 14. I took dancing classes and acting classes in whatever high school. I actually went to 3 different high schools. So whatever high school I was in, I would take dancing and acting. And then a couple years out of high school, I actually started taking acting classes at a reputable acting school, and just slowly, surely, I got into, getting roles and just slowly built up my career. So I did a lot of things you can see from my IMDb. If you look at my films, fun films. I was part of the 80s home video craze, where the blockbuster craze, the home video craze, where, you had all these directors and they were doing all these great, in those days, those films were considered low budget. The budgets for those films then were low budget for then on film. Now, if you had that kind of a budget now, you'd think that's not so low budget. But back then, the so-called B movies, the campy movies, horror movies, exploitative type of movies, all the movies were on film. So the budgets were much bigger, and we actually got paid pretty good. So, I worked for directors like Fred Olen Ray and Gary Graver. Well, Gary Graver worked with Fred Olen Ray on a lot of things, but he did a lot of films on his own. Gary Graver I did Evil Spirits with. Fred Olen Ray I did 3 films with: Warlord, starring David Carradine; Beverly Hills Vamp, starring Eddie Deason; Britt Edklin, you know who she is; Michelle Bauer, Julian Kestner, and some other people. Oh, lots of names in that one. And and Tim Conway Jr., I think that's his name. And my friend John, I'm going to get his names mixed up. John Richard Henry. He's got 3 names and I get them mixed up. But anyway, he's going to kill me. But, people like that, and some other notable directors, and then I was on some of those bigger films like Point Break, Wild at Heart, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that I got cut out of. But I don't know if you know this story. I've told it quite a few times. I was in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I had a big scene with John Candy and Steve Martin, and I was invited to go to a screening at Paramount, and they were handing out 1 sheets as you were going in. My name was on it, so I'm thinking, oh, good, I didn't get cut out. It was a big scene, too, really hysterical. An editor was sitting behind me when we went in, my then boyfriend I went with, and he said, "Oh, my God, I recognize you. You're so, so funny. That's such a funny scene." So I was like, oh, I didn't get cut out. I'm going to be in the movie. We watched the whole movie. Where my scene should have been was right at the end of the movie. It was missing. It was not there. So after the screening was over, the guy behind me said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were cut out. You were in it when I was working on that section." So he didn't know. So, but in the past 5 or 6 years, there are 2 people. One's a friend of mine, Michelle Nesk, who I worked with on a short film called 333 Illuminati. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was one of her very favorite films. And a long, long time ago, she was in Canada staying with somebody, a relative, I assume. She taped it off the TV because she loved the movie so much, on videotape. and I was in it, and she remembered me in it. And so she taped it, but then she didn't have the tape because there was a big flood and in the basement, and a lot of things got ruined and the tapes got ruined. And then just a couple years ago, another director from New Zealand, I can't quite remember his name, but I could look him up because I know who he is. But he messaged me. He said, I didn't know you were in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I assumed maybe he saw it on my IMDb. And I said, well, I was in it, but I got cut out of it. He says, no, I just saw you. And I said, what? He says, no, I saw your scene. He described the scene to me, and I said, oh my God, that's the scene. He was in Canada at a sports bar.
And he was playing.
He was playing pool. And he messaged me like that same night that he saw it. And I said, oh my God. He says, well, I wasn't really paying close attention, but I saw you and I saw the scene. He says, well, I was playing pool and I wasn't really like watching it, but I saw you. And I'm like, oh my God, that's two people now that saw me in Canada while they were watching it on Canadian television. So there is a version that somehow gets on TV in Canada. And if there's anyone out there who can possibly track down this version of me in it. But anyway, so
I think we're just going to have to, just go on eBay and only buy the movie
Canadian.
from people that in Canada.
No, but I don't think it's a version that's available for sale, like on a DVD.
Gotcha.
I think it's some version that the TV networks have that's not for sale.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, I know.
Your scene, but two people have seen your scene and loved it, so now they should have kept it in the movie in America too.
Two people years apart. Like she had seen me like a long time ago, and he saw me a few years ago. So a couple 2-3 years ago. So anyway, that's crazy. But yeah, so I did a lot of stuff in the 80s and 90s, and then I was actually out of acting for a bit because of an ex-husband. Psycho. So
Not finding Nicole level, I hope.
Not quite at that level, but potentially at that level, because at one time I did believe very certainly that I had to escape. I ran away because I thought I was going to get.
Oh.
Yeah, so it wasn't quite at the level of Finding Nicole, but it was. I could definitely relate to women that are in that situation. Yeah, because dealing with that level of narcissism and abuse, and it's I feel for women, it's tough. A lot of other people who've never been in that situation just think it's so easy to leave. Like, why don't you just leave? Sometimes it's not quite as easy as that. Sometimes you have nowhere to go. Sometimes you're so beaten down, and this is a lot of women, and it doesn't matter. This happens to women who are successful, who have money. This happens to all levels of, demographics. So, but yeah, I lost what I was going to say about that. But yeah, sometimes it's just not easy to leave. So I was in that relationship for 9 years, and then once I was out of that, I was working at a job, and I met my to-be husband, Eric, who you've met, and my lovely Eric, and we met, and we were just friends for a while, but as time went on, something blossomed, and now we've been together for 20 years, and we just had our 17th wedding anniversary, so it has a very happy ending. But what I was going to say, though, is that I did all those films in the 80s and 90s, and then I was out of it for a little bit, and then I just kind of fell back in acting by accident because I got on Facebook and I started friending old friends and people I worked with, and old acting friends like Brink Stevens and Linnea Quigley and a lot of these actresses from iconic horror films, and a lot of the directors I had worked with, and just people I knew from down in LA, because I grew up in LA, but then for a long time I was in the Bay Area. Well, I actually still am, San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California. So um, a few years ago I was back to living down in LA again for a few years, but I'm back in the Northern California now again. But anyway, so I started friending all these people, and other people saw my name and saw me, commenting on friends' things and friends commenting on my things. And all of a sudden I got an avalanche. I mean, this is just like maybe a week after I had been on Facebook. All of a sudden, I literally got an avalanche of friend requests, like from all these people. I got tons of messages. It might have been 2 weeks, possibly 2 weeks, but within a week or 2 weeks, I got all these people. I had people offering they wanted to send me their scripts. They wanted me to be in their movies.
Wow.
I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, I literally didn't believe I was going to be able to get back into acting because I was just working a regular 9-to-5 job. Because we had storage limitation problems, I had all this acting stuff. And I just have nowhere to put this stuff. I ended up, shortly before I got back into acting, like maybe the year before, I had dumped like a ton of stuff because I really thought I'm never going to get back into acting. It's just not going to happen. How can that happen? I'm here in Northern California. I'm not down in LA. I'm just working a regular job. I just didn't see it happen. I just didn't see it happening. So the fact that happened to me is a small miracle unto itself. And then people knew who I was. People were like, "Oh my God, are you the Debra Lamb from the movies?" And I could not believe how many fans I had. It was, and fans and friends, and people like so happy to connect with me, and it was absolutely incredible. So that all happened, I think, in 2010. And then so here it is, 2024, and I really feel that the films that I've been doing in the past few years is I finally feel like, okay, now my career is going in the direction that I actually want it to. And the potential of furthering the types of films that I'd like to be in it's those opportunities are opening up. And next year there's going to be a couple big things happening, so I'm really excited about that. So, and the few, I've got some films coming out. I've got some films that I've done recently, and yeah, so it's exciting times.
Amazing.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that's so great. What I want to touch before we can go into all of your movies, and I'll talk about them all day. I mentioned to Lauren, and I was going to mention to you, going just back to the 80s and 90s. I feel like you were working and putting out movies and garnering fame, like you have people, friends, and fans in like the last golden era of Hollywood to me, like before Facebook, before everyone had a cell phone to take pictures of you out and about, but like in Hollywood.
Before everything was on digital.
Right, yeah. I mean, was that just, do you ever look back, were those good times? Were those fun times? I mean, do you have just like crazy stories from it? Or are you kind of like, I know you said like the work you're doing now is kind of what you really were hoping, you're happy with the work then, but were those just times you look back on, you're like, wow.
Well, I got to tell you, the films I was doing back then, I was young, and I was very excited to be working on those films. I was really excited to be working with Fred Olen Ray. In fact, Fred Olen Ray, I don't know if you know who Fred Olen Ray is, but he's an iconic uh, video age, what's the phrase? The home video, what they call it, something. Anyway, but God, he had big stars in his films, and he did all sorts of different genres. He did horror, and he did action, and post-apocalyptic type films, and crime, and yeah, a lot of action crime type of films and dramas. He just did everything. And now he's doing, well, he does a lot of different things now, but he's mainly doing Christmas movies. And I love it. If you look him up, you'll see a slew of Christmas movies. And I've seen a couple of them, and they're great. They're really great. Some of my friends are in some of his Christmas movies. So I messaged him like last year. I was saying, Fred, when are you going to put me in one of your Christmas movies? But, it's not really up to him, because it's not like it's his movies. He's being hired. Whereas all the films back in the 80s and 90s that he was doing and early 2000s, those were actually his films that he was producing, writing, producing, directing. So, but what was the question? Oh, the early age. Yes, the end of the golden age. I have to agree. I mean, there are some truly classic, spectacular films that are being made now, and how far the CGI has come is incredible. I mean, just some of these films are just mind blowing, like Dune and all these other films. But there's something to be said about all the films that were made before the digital age, before the World Wide Web, when films were done on film, and the old, and of course the old classic Hollywood, the black and white films, and all the brilliant genius directors, and all the movie stars. But yeah, there is something to be said about then versus now, where now it's like I don't do this, but a lot of people, it's like they get on Facebook or Instagram, and it's like, Dear Diary, today I had an avocado and tuna sandwich, and here's a picture so you can all see the sandwich that I ate. And then, if anybody has a problem with anybody else, oh my gosh, I have seen such drama, with people's beefs. It's like, this person doesn't like that person, and then they say, oh, if you're friends with that person, I'm gonna unfriend you. If I find out any of my friends are friends with that, oh, and don't get me started about the politics. It's like, I'm unfriending you because if you're on that side, it's like crazy. And, I mean, it's somewhat entertaining, but it's like sad to see how, how I don't know what to say about humans, human nature. But anyway, but back then, there was somewhat of a mystique, a mystery. People. There was no social media, thank God. Back then, you could do crazy, like really fucked up things, and really embarrass yourself, but nobody's,
Right.
whoever was there might see you make a fool out of yourself, but not the whole world.
Yeah.
Right.
Now everybody's got their phones out constantly. The second anybody starts to behave funny, they get their phone out, and God forbid you're a celebrity. Jeez, these poor celebrities, it's the price of fame, I guess. But can you imagine just being everybody, their phones, like
No.
constantly taping everything? And oh man, oh golly, I don't know. But I'm happy. I'm very happy that I had that experience of being part of the 80s, 90s home video explosion of films. I loved a lot of the films, like The Invisible Maniac. I was in The Invisible Maniac. You may not have seen it, but it's really, really super funny. It's this
It is, yeah.
maniac scientist guy, and developing his invisibility formula, and he somehow becomes the a substitute teacher, but it's summer school. So we're the only ones at the school, and the Invisible Maniac scientist guy, he's a bit crazy, but it's the early 90s, so of course he's sneaking into the girls' rooms, pulling off the covers, and my scene where I get killed, it's hilarious. I'm running down the hall, running, screaming, and then I get attacked by a fire hose, and then somehow my top pops off, because as it happens, when you're running down the hall. And but it's hilarious. So those kind of movies are, and people will tell me how much they love that movie. That and Beverly Hills Bam. Those are of the films that I'm in. Those are people's favorites. And there's a couple of other ones that are good. I'm trying to think of which ones they are, but I'm in this one called Mob Boss. That's another Eddie Deason one. But the film from late 80s, early 90s that one of my favorite films is Evil Spirits. It's a lesser known film, but it stars Karen Black and Michael Berryman and Burt Remsen and Virginia Mayo, which younger people wouldn't have no idea who that is. That Virginia Mayo was a huge star in the 40s. And of course she was much older when she did Evil Spirits, but huge star. She starred in films with Humphrey Bogart and people like that. I mean, she was a top star. So it was really cool to get to work with a lot of older people who were character actors and older actors and actresses who had been famous. Martine Beswick was in that, from Russia with Love, and I just saw. We started watching Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. Have you guys seen that?
I love that film. Martine Beswick is amazing in that.
Yeah. And she's a lovely person too. And so we started watching it, but we fell asleep. But it's in queue to watch. So we'll be watching Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. But yeah, it was really cool to, I've been so fortunate. I often think, oh, woe is me. My career I'm not that big, and my career isn't that big, and, I'm not on network television shows, and I'm not doing this and that. But then I have to look back and think, look at all the stuff I have done, the people I've worked with. I mean, I worked on Point Break. I mean, sure, I was just a fire eater, but I worked with Keanu Reeves and Lori Petty, and I talked to them, and Catherine Bigelow and Patrick Swayze. I didn't talk to Patrick Swayze, but he did give me the side eye because because after I was done with all my fire eating duties, Catherine Bigelow wanted me to stick around in case she wanted to use me again. So I was there till dawn. It was a night shoot. And so they were shooting another scene with Patrick Swayze, and I was just way far in the background with some other people, and I wasn't saying a word. I was being very quiet. And for some reason he looked at me, and I was like, oh, am I not supposed to be here? But I just kind of smiled. Just looked away. I'm like, oh, I got in trouble. So anyway, he was probably looking at me because I had this lavender blonde hair with these ringlets. I was going through my Madonna phase, when she had the curly blonde hair with the ring. I was going through my Madonna phase, so I have platinum hair with these ringlets. So now that I think about it, that's perfectly right. And I had this like bustier kind of outfit. So in retrospect, I'm like, that's probably why he was looking at me funny, because he was like, who is this chick?
But I mean, over the course of this though, you have really consistently been in films where either horror or like thriller where people get murdered. I mean, if you think back to Evil Spirits, you were your Tina in Evil Spirits. That was obviously loads of murders. Yeah, there's loads of murders going on there. And then Invisible Maniac, obviously you have as well. But then even more recently, you've been in lots of stuff that have had various different like murders happen. I mean, or maybe going to happen or trying to happen. And you've been in quite a few horrors. Is that something you're kind of naturally drawn to, or how does that happen?
Well, to be honest, I love horror, but it's not my top favorite genre. I actually really love, I mean, I'm happy to be in horror films if they meet my standards of something I want to do, you know, a great story, great script, good role, you know, I mean, I have certain criterion to want to be in a film, but then if those things are there and it's somebody I want to work with and I think it's going to be good, you know, then it doesn't matter what the genre is. But I love Westerns. You know, I got to do Showdown in Yesteryear. I actually won 2 Best Actress awards for Showdown in Yesteryear. And it's a cute movie. It's a great movie. I mean, it's not a cute movie. It's lots of action, really nice story, great script by my friend Gregory Lamberson, great directing by Aaron Bratcher, who happens to be right now making his passion project, Squatch.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it looks like
I'm ready for that one.
It looks like it's going to be good. It stars Bill Oberst Jr., my friend Bill, and Lynn Lowry, another friend of mine. So it'll be good. But but it's not that I'm like, oh, where's my next horror film? It's where's my next good role with a good story. But I love Westerns, but my very favorite genre actually is action. I love action adventure, you know. That's my favorite personally. I mean, I'm huge Jason, what's his name? Statham. Thank you. I always say his last name wrong. Jason Statham. I'm a huge Jason Statham fan. You know, I adore him, and Liam Neeson. Him and Liam Neeson, I could just watch their movies all day long. But I do love horror too. I mean, and there's some really, really good horror films. So, and Westerns, I love Westerns. So I would have to say it's Westerns and action at the top of my list, and then horror, and then comedy. I think I may have it looks like I'm going to be in a comedy soon, but that hasn't been completely solidified, so we'll see.
Okay.
Has the auditioning process changed for you over the years? I mean, what is auditioning just like? It's got to be, I would never be able to do it. Just go in to be told no, right? I hear it's just like, you've got to learn how to deal with rejection when you're auditioning and stuff, but
they don't tell you no right. They don't tell you no right then and there. They just go. You never hear from them.
Oh, okay. That's better. It's like dating in middle school. Great. Yeah, they just don't talk to you anymore. Sounds good.
It's fine. You never hear from them. Well, actually, I did a lot of auditioning back in the 80s and 90s. I had a pretty good success rate of getting the things that I auditioned for. And then there have been things that I've auditioned for since I got back into acting about 14 years ago now, or maybe 13 years ago. But I haven't actually auditioned that much. I mainly am just offered roles, which is really nice.
Great.
Yeah. So there have been things where directors who I know, who are friends of mine, they'll have me audition, and I do, and I do know that if I were to actually get an agent and try to go for more like television series, I'd be auditioning my pants off. And But everything now is remote. Everybody does their auditioning on their phone. So there is no more, when I was auditioning earlier in my career, you showed up somewhere and you stood in line with a bunch of other people in the hall, and then you go in and do your thing. Now that isn't a thing. I think in some cases, I think higher up in the really big budget films, they do have meetings with the famous actors who go in. They have them come in and audition. But at the lower budget film level, I don't know if anybody even does it anymore. I would like to think that some people are auditioning people in person, because it's just so wonderful to be able to get to actually, bounce your energy off of the other people. But I haven't seen that in my experience. I'm just seeing that people now are just, that's all they do now. It's just send in a tape.
Yeah, a lot of my actress friends is the same, and they talk a lot about how strange it is performing to like your own camera. Do you find that weird? Do you get somebody to be there so that you have them?
Well, the auditions that I've done in the past handful of years, I always have my husband Eric help me. He's always the reader. He's always my reader. It doesn't matter if it's a little girl or if it's a woman or whatever the character is. But he does a fine job, because he knows that as my reader, he just needs to not fully get into the acting. He does a good job. So, but it's funny because, and then I don't have a setup. I know a lot of people they have a background, a green screen or blue screen or whatever, or a gray, whatever they have. And then they have a whole setup with lights, and they have a tripod and everything. I'm so no, it's not just low tech, it's pretty much no tech. And I just have Eric, he's literally standing in the one spot in our apartment, in the one spot that has somewhat decent lighting. He's standing there holding the phone for me hitting the button.
Go ahead.
God bless him. God bless him.
That's awesome. We've talked a lot about your career building up there, and just a few days ago, a trailer for something new has come out, which was Shadows of the Night. So tell us about Shadows of the Night.
Shadows of the Night. Oh God, this film, I'm really, really looking forward to people seeing this film. It's so good. We had such an amazing cast and crew, and I know everybody says that, but it's, for one, we had Bill Oberst Jr. in it, and I just adore Bill. Oh, and I got, I was staying in a house because I was in Grand Junction, Colorado, for a whole month. And Todd Ernest Braley's the director, and I'm a producer on the film along with Itai Guberman. And Todd and Itai Guberman co-wrote the script together. And Todd had developed the story, but then he was originally going to make this as a short film, and then he decided to make a feature film, and then he got Itai involved, and they wrote the feature film length script together. And but it's going to be great. It's a paranormal thriller. It's about and it's so funny. I have to quickly tell you. So Todd contacted me one day, and he wanted to do a video call with me, and his wife Angie was there too, because she helps him a lot. And so he wanted to have a chat with me. So I was talking to him, and he says, I know you don't want to do a lot. You're trying to kind of get out of horror. You don't want to do as much horror. And I said, well, it's not so much that I don't want to do horror. It's just I'm being more particular. I'm being more particular about anything I do, no matter what the genre. And so he was interested in having me be in his film. So he told me the whole story of the story of the film, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. I had seen the trailer he had put out for the short film. He put out a little trailer of this exorcism, and it was really good. And I was messaging him to let him know that, hey, this is really good. I love it. It looks great. So, and then when he posted, oh, I'm going to make a feature film. And I wrote to him, I said, Todd, I'm so happy that he was making a feature film instead of just a short film, because that happened with You Like to Draw, which I worked with Todd on, like 5 years ago. And that started out as a short film. And I talked him in, I just told him, look, it's too good of a story. You really have to make this a feature film. You know, you're wasting such a great story on doing just a short. And I did, I got him to, he decided to make it a feature film. So he told me the whole story about, Shadows of the Night and the plot and everything and what my character would be. And I loved it. So I said yes, and I said I would love to be involved with it. And very soon after getting in, deciding that I would be in it, we discussed me being a producer on the film, and so I joined as a producer along with Ty and Todd, of course. And and then we had our big shoot. Well, we were going to do the film last year, but we had a little bit of financial snafus, so we weren't able to do it till this year. But we started, I think it was on July 30th, and it was our first day of shooting, and it was a 15-day shoot for 3 weeks, and it went very well. The whole experience was great. Our shooting days were good. I mean, we didn't fall behind. We were kept on schedule. We had some great, just the best crew ever, a great cast. I have to give a shout out to, well, of course, Bill Oberst Jr. I was about to say I got to stay with him. Well, he stayed with me at the house I was in. I was there for a whole month, but he was there for the few days that he stayed with us. He was staying at the house I was at, and we just talked and talked. We got to chat about so many wonderful things, and oh my gosh, what a precious human being he is. I love him so much. Bill, if you're out there listening, well, he probably won't see this, but Bill, I love you, Bill. So anyway, but our young actress, Lily Davis, was amazing. And there was another young actress, Alyssa Ramirez. She was also very good. And we had just all the cast members were so good. Kazua Salazar. If I'll be here forever if I name everybody. But the crew was amazing. We had amazing cinematographer, Carson and his guys, and wow, just it all went pretty smoothly. I mean, we had some technical issues a couple of times. We had a fire alarm go off on us for a couple hours one night, and we had a torrential rain one day that we were planning on. That day was all outdoor shoots. That whole day was planned for outdoor shoots. It poured. I mean, torrential. It was like, but we worked it. So we we delayed the shooting for a little bit, but we decided to just go with it. Well, yeah. So the actors were in the pouring rain, but it worked so perfectly. It was great.
Love it.
So yeah, I just did that. It's in post-production right now. And in fact, we've had an Indiegogo campaign going, before we started shooting, and of course it's still going. And if anyone out there would like to help us out to get this film finished, I'll give you the information. You can put it in in there, and if anyone wants to donate to our Indiegogo, that would be awesome. And so that should be coming out in the spring. Oh, and I did a little voiceover earlier this year for an old friend of mine, Joe Hollow, who I was in a couple films. Well, I produced a couple films with him. Well, one of the films I co-produced, but the other film I produced with him. The first one was Disciples, which had an all-star horror cast. I mean, everybody in horror was in this film. He's re-editing the film and he's going to re-release it. There is another film that we worked on together called Blood Story, A Blood Story. I think he's re-editing that. So he's planning on re-releasing that one as well sometime in the near future. But he was out of filmmaking for a while, and now he's back with his new film called Flesh of the Unforgiven, and it's in a couple film festivals. It's in the Shockfest Film Festival right now, and it was in it's called the Amazing Fantastic Film Festival. It's Gregory Lamberson's film festival, but it won an award there. So, and I do a voiceover in the opening of the credits, so that was fun. It was fun to reconnect with him after all these years. So, and that's the thing that I really love about working with these people. It's like you really form really close bonds with. Oh, speaking of which, let's talk about Witches of the Sands. Speaking of close bonds, we got to talk about Witches of the Sands, because Tony Martin, years and years ago, somehow Tony and I connected. I don't remember exactly how, but we connected, and he was doing this film called Witches of the Sands, and pretty much anybody who's a name in horror films is in it. Like everybody I know is in it. Linnea Quigley, Brinks Stevens. Oh, I just can't possibly name everybody. And what's that guy's name?
Ian McCulloch?
Lawrence.
Lawrence Harvey from Human Centipede.
Lawrence Harvey, and all these people are in it. Oh no, that's somebody else. Who was in the Human Centipede?
Oh,
that's not
Lawrence Harvey's in the main one in the Human Centipede 2, and then the guy from Hellraiser, Simon Bamford. Is that what you're thinking of?
Oh, was Simon in one of the Centipede movies?
Oh no, sorry, no, he's Hellraiser.
No,
I just didn't know if you were having
I was thinking of Lawrence Harvey. Now I just me and Simon Bamford were just chatting over Messenger the other day, but we started chatting and we're like, oh, Witches of the Sands, and I'm like, oh, I forgot that you were actually in that. So we were chatting about that, and what a crazy film it is, and and the big rap party coming up, but it's over there in England, and I can't come. I wish I could come.
Your scene looks beautiful. I've been very fortunate in getting to see your scene, and it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So are they doing that? Well, I know I'm at the very opening of The Witches of the Sands.
That's
my scene opens the film, and then those couple of other little clips that I did, where for the end with when everybody's talking about him at the end of the film.
We can't give too much away, but yeah,
I know. Oh.
We can talk about the opening one. That's the one we can talk about. The other ones we have to be smart.
Well, I didn't say anything.
No, you didn't. I just wanted to pre-warn you in case we gave anything away.
Thank you for stopping me. But the opening's really cool, but I don't want to give away the opening either. Yeah, but just to let people know, this film is nuts. And this film, I think the year that I actually shot my couple of scenes for it, wasn't that back in 2020?
It was like COVID era, yeah.
It was because my good friend Mark Bonacourt actually shot it for me when I was out there to shoot. I was working on his project, which he's still working on, but I was working on his project out there called Brother Wolf, and while I was out there, he was able to shoot my scenes for Tony, because of course you guys are in England and I wasn't in England, but yeah, that was 2020. So every so often I talked to Tony and said, yeah, I'm going to be shooting some more scenes. Oh yeah, we got the next year. Yeah, we got some more scenes. And then I'd see his posts with these crazy pictures. And now in the last year, the craziness of all these scenes that you've just been adding and adding and adding, and more people, more and more known, well-loved horror horror icon type people, and it's going to be crazy. But you're pretty much done now shooting, right? I mean, a little more.
There's a tiny bit of like little bit of studio work that's getting done in January, but we've already started editing it because it's as you said, we've got most of it, and or I say I'm not doing any of the editing.
Well,
you're my boyfriend.
You're a part of the team. You're on the production team.
Yes.
But it's already started editing, and the next year is when we think, and when they think, the editors think it'll be ready. So that's exciting.
But you saw my scene?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Honestly, it's great.
Thank
and
you.
You look amazing. I don't want to give anything away since you don't, but you gotta see it just for her and her look. It's gonna be like Halloween costumes everywhere, I think. I think people will get into it.
Yeah. That was a great. That's the dress I wore is mine. That's my dress.
Oh, cool.
And let's see, what was I wearing? Oh yeah, that was all mine. That's all mine. And then the cape was Mark Bonacor's cape. He loaned it for the thing.
Looked really cool.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait for people to see it. Witches of the Sands in that book. There was a book, but it's not really for sale. They made this book with all the pictures from the film, and it's spectacular. And I still have all those pictures that I took of the book when I was there visiting you in London earlier this year. So
if anybody is in
England
and wants to come by and see the book, it's he usually brings it to Dark Fest. So if you are in London for Dark Fest, you could have a chance to see the book.
When is Dark Fest?
Dark Fest this year, it's the last Saturday. I think it's the 25th, but let me double check on my calendar. It's the last Saturday in November. Yeah, 23rd is the last Saturday of November. Yeah, there we go. 23rd.
So November. Okay. And the 24th is my birthday.
How amazing is that? We will have to pre-toast you at Dark Fest to Debra Lamb.
Okay. And then the other film that I worked on while I was there visiting you in London earlier in the year, I think it was in May, I worked on my friend Kieran Davis's film, Geezers. Okay, now that film that he's doing, that genre that he's doing, now that's my very favorite. He's doing a high octane, balls to the wall, crazy crime thing with with explosions and car chases and thugs and criminals, and it's like what is that movie, Lock, Stock and Barrel, and
Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels.
Okay, that one. And what's the other one? What's the Guy Ritchie one?
Snatch. I mean, that's like the same movie, but then like the Guy Ritchie like movies, like that story.
Yeah. So it's going to be kind of like that. So I'm just in it. I just do like a little cameo in this first one, but he wanted me to be in this one because in the next one I have a pretty large role. So.
And when is that coming out? Do you know?
I think Geezers they're going to AFM. So AFM's in November, and they already have a distributor. And so they're, as far as when it's coming out, if I were to guess, either late this year or early next year. So not too long from now. He's finishing up the shooting. I think he's done with the principal photography. I think he might be adding a few other little things, but it's being edited, and it, like I said, it already has distribution, and it's already had a lot of press, and it's going to be getting a ton more press. So I'm excited about that. And then the one other film that I can't leave without mentioning, it's a film that it's 4 years in the making. I mean, we've waited 4 years for it to be made. We were going to shoot it this year, but it's going to be next spring. Vampire Penance.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I've made a few posts about it, but I've been attached to this film for 4 years, and it's directed by my very, very good friend, John Rain, and Kieran Davis, who's doing Geezers. He's in it. He's going to be in it. and it's about redemption among a vampire.
Okay.
It's about a young vampire. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you what Shadows of the Night is about. That's about a young girl who gets involved with the dark web and bad things happen. So I don't want to give too much away. So that's Shadows of the Night. It's dark web, paranormal thriller, young girl, very, very bad things happen. And her lovely grandmother, played by Moi, is Rose, and Rose knows what's going on with the girl. You know, her parents don't really understand what's happening, but the grandmother, she's like, she understands what's happening, and she protects her, and lots of other things happen. So, and this young priest is played by Kazua Salazar, is part of helping the girl too. So, but it's a very cool story. But Vampire Penance, back to Vampire Penance. It's about a professor who's had a lot of loss in his life, and he's pretty much given up on life. And so I'm trying not to give too much away. He finds purpose again by helping a vampire. And so a lot of interesting things happen there. And then there's like the good guys and the bad guys, and I mean, it's going to be chock full of a lot of action. But the thing about Vampire Penance is throughout these 4 years, it's been a roller coaster ride. And I'm a producer on it. And so I've been privy to all the details of all the ups and downs, and all the different producers that have come and went and been involved, and then they're not involved, and just, I mean, so many things, so many actors that were attached, and not, you know, just all crazy things, big stars that were, you know, we were going after throughout the years, and then no, that didn't work out. But now it's happening. So in the spring we're shooting it, and John and his partner Mark Weiss have just done an amazing job bringing the whole production to where it is now. And there's some really, really big things happening that I can't talk about, but it's really exciting. So, you know, I mean, I've had some close calls in my long career, close calls of being in something like that was like a career making film. I've had close calls, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was one of those close calls. I mean, I was in it, but then I wasn't in it, so people didn't see me. So, except for the couple of people that saw me in Canada. But after I did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I thought, this is it. This is it. People are gonna know who I am. But you know, that these close calls that I had, you know, I just it's like right there, but then it just doesn't happen. It's like, okay, well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, you know. There's a lot of really, really, really super talented people that never get that break. But as far as, you know, people are saying, you know, I see people all the time, this is a career defining, or this is going to be my big break. Well, at 60, I could just possibly be getting my big break with Vampire Penance. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's very cool, though. That's
no, wait,
exciting.
I'll be 61 by the time we shoot it. So at 61, maybe I'll get my big break. Oh, wait, but it won't come out next year. It'll probably be the next year. Okay, 62. I might be 62. I might get my big break.
You'll get your big break, and then everyone will be like, look at overnight success. And you'll be like, no, it's not an overnight success. Like, look at this. I have a resume that is, I've been working.
Yeah, you hear that all the time with actors, you know, they're like, ooh, they're a big splash because you see them and it's something really big. And then people will say overnight success, and they're like, what? I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah, well, I've been doing it for 40 years.
But that's exciting. That's exciting to have that. Like, you're looking at that and being like, I mean, just someone, I saw the trailer for the paranormal movie that you were.
Shadows of the Night.
Shadows of the Night, and it just looks insane. Like it
looks good, huh?
Yes, it does. I can't. Like I'm definitely that is on my watch list. So like it's so nice to be able to like you're like, man, you're excited about multiple projects that are going on right now. So that's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, it is, and I'm really happy with. Like I said, I'm happy with a lot of the things that I've been doing lately. I was really happy with the Western Showdown in Yesteryear. I thought it turned out really nice, and Shadows of the Night is going to be really, really good. And Geezers, I know Geezers is going to be good. Oh, and I have a small little role in my friend Colton Reed's film Reminisce. Starring Tank Jones, and my friend Jessica Morris is in it. Well, Jessica Hill now because she got married. But and she's she's on fire because Tank is too, but Jessica is just working constantly. She's in a lot of like Hallmark Lifetime type movies. I think it's Lifetime movies that she does a lot of, and she's just knocking it out of the park. She's writing scripts for Lifetime films and producing, and she's doing a phenomenal job. But so I'm really happy to be a part of that film because it looks like it's going to be really, really good. And that's another like psychological not really paranormal film, more like psychological thriller. And I do love psychological thrillers. So yeah, I have a lot of exciting things coming out, and that I've done recently and that I'm going to be doing shortly. And so, I'm very fortunate. I could sit here and moan about, the career that I don't have, but I'm grateful for what I do have.
So we're getting towards the end of our hour, probably a little bit over now, and I can't let you go without asking, what are you doing for Halloween?
Well, you know what? We just got back from an amazing European vacation. We were in Rome and Venice, and we got to visit our dear friend Michael Haberfeldner, who you know and love, in Vienna. So, I think we're just going to kick back and watch some horror movies. Probably some old black and white horror movies.
That doesn't sound bad at all.
We were invited to a big party out in San Francisco, but, I'm a little pooped.
I bet.
I understand that.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Deborah, for your time. It's been so much fun, and we have so many great things to look forward to watch. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, you guys. Chris, it was lovely meeting you. Lauren,
you as well.
I love you. And I love you and Tony, and I love you now, Chris, because you're part of the family. So, and
yes.
I can't wait to see you and Tony again, and have a great time at the wrap party for Witches of the Sands. And I just am dying for Witches of the Sands to be finished and come out. But thank you. Thanks, guys. I love you guys.
Right.
Thank you so much. And of course, last thanks to our listeners. This has been the London Horror Movie Club.
If you want to share your thoughts about this episode, please head to our Facebook or YouTube pages. We're grateful to Kukurbit, who made our music. Thank you for listening, and please join us next time for the London Horror Movie Club.